Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are bringing freedom to potential. Yeah, sounds right. Yeah, coaching for relevance. We are back with our good friend, Randy Swaim, joining us live today from the beautiful Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas area. World-renowned pilot and coach, and he can tell you all his accolades. I'm excited he's here as a dear friend and as a staple on the show. I mean, his show has been going on for almost 2 years now, let alone he's got the book we're going to talk about. We got the movie we're going to talk about. And as always, just great conversation about how he's really helping people like you out there, whether you own a business or not. But most people and businesses need some leadership advice, but he can coach anyone. Go ahead, Randy. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay. Well, I'm an executive coach. I train and certify jet pilots and flight crews big time. That's where a lot of that is brought. And and I'm been honored to be on the show for, like you said, just about 2 years now. And I just and with you, kind of thing as a host and everything. I appreciate you, my friend. And but really, what I look for is that I can leave insights to people. And one of the things that I'm a Marshall Goldsmith certified executive coach, but I'm also a certified master level neuroplastician over in the Institute for Organizational Neuroscience in Germany. And what that is, and this is something that leaders need to understand, and they don't often understand it, but you got to understand how your brain is working. Is it really going in a good direction? Is it really processing correctly? Or is it shutting down? Is it going in a bad direction just because of whatever? And so we'll just, we may just mention that once very quickly here today, but um, it's that all those things are things that I bring to people, to businesses, actually to youth, to rising stars also. In fact, just a little bit earlier today, I was over at the local high school, and the chemistry teacher that I've been connected with for about 15 years now, kind of thing. Um, I had an opportunity to speak to the class and to bring aspects of that are important to the class and everything. And so it's just that's what I'm all about. I don't. You've heard me say this before, but when I take my last breath, it doesn't matter to me if people don't remember my name. But what I hope is that they remember that there was this guy 20 years ago or whatever that brought an insight, and I applied that, and boy, it made a difference for me. That's what I hope. That's, the life story, like you said, the autobiography being out there, the movie documentary that's going to be published to the public in less than 2 months, kind of thing. And those are just ways of getting the message out and getting a positive impact on some people that maybe that I never met. And so it just I'm honored and humbled by just where all this seems to be going right now.
No, we're excited for you, and you're always here to help each and every week. Really, honestly, it's like lessons with Randy about leadership and about things that we could do to start getting ourselves together. What did you have in mind for us today?
Well, what I was going to do today, and just a little follow-on statement from what you just said. Guess what? I've learned a lot too in my journey. So I mean, it's we all have for sure. But yeah, what I was going to do today is I'm actually going to kind of start out with the concept of strategic vision and planning and things of that nature, but bring some insights that are usually not aware to a lot of people out there. And it's and it has to do with aspects about it for your team and everything. So that's what I was going to plan to bring today.
Let's get started. I hate that. It's sticking. I'm so sorry. Go for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I hear you now. So that's good. So, well, I tell you what, if you want, I'll go ahead and get started on this really quick. And what I was going to do is just sense this, and everybody who listens to this today, everybody understands that
You,
there is a time in your organization, in your team, in whatever, where you've got to strategically look at where you're wanting to go, what you wanting to accomplish, what maybe all of that, and how much return you're looking to get, and all that sort of stuff. All that is part of the strategic aspects of it, on how you're going to get there. But what I want to bring today is a little bit of a different aspect that's in the same basic concept, and it is one of the things that when you're talking about strategic vision and strategic planning and all of that, part of it is what you want to be achieve in a year, in 2 years, or whatever, 6 months maybe, or whatever, kind of thing. What you want to achieve to do that. But what a lot of people today don't fully understand is, in order to truly reach the radical results, one of the things you also want to be thinking, and it is sort of part of the strategic vision of it, the strategic planning of it, is what do you and your team need to become in order to make that really successful? What do you and your team, in some cases, need to think differently, have a little bit of a different vision, how you're going to get there, and things of that nature. And one of the things that I throw with people is simply this. And by the way, Jill, anytime uh, in our time today, if you want to throw something out or ask a question, you're welcome to, kind of thing, as always. But one of the things that people kind of don't understand, because a lot of managers today think that their job is to do nothing but dictate to everybody as to what they're supposed to do. I'm
yep.
just going to do this myself, and you better do this, you better do that. And they sort of attack and complain if somebody doesn't succeed with it quite as well, and everything. And that is not true leadership, because what you have to understand, and it's actually true in a organizational maneuverability world, where the aspects are not always the same, and the factors that come on scene are not always the same, but each person is a little bit different. And by the way, when you look at the people on your team and who they are, guess what? That can be a little bit different than a previous team that you worked with. And the bottom line is, what do you truly need to be aware of in how you need to work with your team? And this is true leadership, because you know what? A lot of managers today, they just kind of go up and they tell a joke or something to get you to laugh, because you can just shut your brain off, and your emotions sort of think that, okay, yeah, I'm good with that, or whatever. But you know what? That is not true. That is not really true. And so, um, when you're talking about really connecting and making radical results happen with your team, a lot of that is interacting in them in such a way that first of all, who each person on the team is and how they interact well. Because guess what? Even with you, sometimes, with the factors that come on scene today, sometimes the people are going to have a picture of it that makes you go, oh, wow, yeah, I didn't think of that. And that can happen sometimes. And you know what? When you're leading your team, you want to be growing your team and helping them get a sense of how each of them are a little bit different, but the way they engage, the way they, commit, and the way that they apply is in a way that makes true synergy happen in the team and with you. And 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 it's something that a lot of people don't understand, and it really gets into it. And the neuroscience awareness, helps me understand a little bit of that, for sure. But the bottom line is, when you're talking about strategic planning, it's one thing to know what we want to accomplish, where we want to go, what do we want the payment to be at the end of this, and all this kind of stuff. But you know what? true strategic planning can be a little bit different. And part of it is, when you're talking about your team, do you see them really pulling together the real synergy and the skills that they have, which, let's face it, in some cases, because of their background and because of their history and because of their journey, they may have a slightly different skill than you do. And there may be times where you don't want that, but there may also be times where you go, that's good. Let's do that. Let's get that going. Let's look at how we're going to apply that well. And you have some of those conversations with your team on an ongoing basis. And if all you're doing is trying to wait to point your fingers at your team and tell them what to do, you're not really taking on what their real true benefit is. And 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 if you don't know what their benefits are and how they can apply and how they can all come together in a real synergistic success factor for your team, you're throwing it in the trash can. And it's just something to think about, that it's a key difference between leadership and just pure management. Now, if you're working with a company like aviation and stuff like that, where there are certain laws and rules that you got to comply with exactly this way, yeah, you got to make sure that you're not, conflicting with that. But on the other hand, um, as you are committing to that and agreeing with that, how's that happening? Do you see it in your team where they have a vision and they have an understanding of how we can do this? And maybe you had a conversation with them and they realized some insights they didn't have before. That can be a beneficial thing for sure. But but the bottom line is, if when you're talking about truly leading your team, eh, who they are and how they interact and how they envision and how they can get there is not just by you pointing fingers and commanding to them, kind of thing. It's about developing it and the vision and the understanding and the picture of what they're doing, and they know that. And you do that, and they can sometimes achieve results that were bigger than you thought. And so it really is, when you're talking about the strategic aspect of your team and leading your team and getting a sense of that, it's bigger than just determining what you want and how you're going to get there. How you're going to get there could mean how you are engaging your team in a successful way, and not shutting their brains off, but having them truly be aligned and with 100% visual aspect of where they're going and how they're getting there and what this is happening. And guess what? Sometimes, and some organizations out there, have experienced this, where the results all of a sudden came through bigger than they expected. And who was aware of that? And so all of that aspect of it, like I say, the strategic aspect of it is a little bit different than just determining what you want to accomplish, how much return you want to get, and all this. I mean, all that can be a part of it. That's valid. No two ways about it. But when you look at getting there, and really achieving that, do you have insights on your team and, what are they? Because here's the thing. You may find that one person on your team doesn't have an insight with something, and you may have to go, without just dictating and having him shut his brain off, you may have to go over and just have a short chat, which may be just 5 minutes, kind of thing, that helps him get a picture of it. And he goes, oh, that's what he was talking about. Oh, you know what? I see that. And he can become involved in that. But part of it, when you think about being a true leader, and particularly in a organizational maneuverability concept, where unexpected factors can come on the scene, part of the factor is, are we getting there? Are we moving in that direction? But the other part of it might be, is my team really getting there? Is my team really making this happen? Or are they only creating 60% of the success that we're looking for, kind of thing, or whatever, kind of thing. And so it's, as a leader, it's not just a rote academic thing when you're talking about the strategic planning. And again, it's not just about you dictating and telling them. It's about you developing their team such that, guess what? When the objective happens and the goals are there, they exceed what you expected when it's all done. And so it's just something to think about, that when you're talking about the strategic aspect of your company, of your team, who you are, there's a lot more than just laying the groundwork. Now, laying the groundwork can be beneficial, but if you're doing it in such a way where your team has to just shut off all their leadership stuff, their professional stuff, and just go with what you say, you're not getting the job done. And the challenge on this, which can be frustrating to sometimes to some leaders, is simply this: that when you're talking about that, you're talking about not either or, but you're talking about a range between your people and the goals. And you may need to kind of realign a little bit the objective or whatever, possibly, but there's a spectrum part across that. And are you going at exactly the right part of that spectrum to accomplish the goals and to exceed the expectations, but also to see the real success in your people and what they're doing and how they're developing and who they're becoming and how they are starting to believe in your belief in them, kind of thing. And all of that is sort of part of the strategic aspect that sometimes people don't think about. So often people think that the strategy is come up with a strategy to get that and to get that kind of return at the end of the first year, kind of thing. And but nothing is about my people, kind of thing. It's about just get this done. And if that's what you're doing, you're not truly being a leader. You're being a manager. But when you're talking about truly leading your team, and particularly in a strategic aspect, and you're developing that strategy, that aspect about the team and everything is a key part of that. And it's something that is, um, some people, a lot of people don't totally think about. But you know what? If you know of your team's skills and you see how they're working together, and guess what? Amazing results can happen. When you looked at your objective, it may be your objective plus 50% or whatever, kind of thing. Who knows? But when you're talking about the strategic vision, the strategic strategy, creating and planning and all of that, guess what? For the leader, part of that needs to be related to your team and your people and your members also. How are they getting together and how are they working together in a positive way? Because here's the thing: if you or a couple of your members are sitting there and all they're doing is trying to, you know, uh, point fingers at their teammates and dictate to them and basically try to require them to just do what I tell you, if that's all you're doing, it can be very challenging and not as successful. So true leadership is about growing that aspect of your team to reach the results that you want. And so it's just something to think about. I figured I'd share today just that one aspect of that is aligned with strategic planning. And you know what? Even if you have a good team that works together and has worked together good for the last couple of years, you may still have an unexpected factor come on scene, and you may notice one of your members took their brain and just went, "Holy cow," or whatever, kind of thing. And what are you going to do in a way where they are able to keep going and maintain their belief in what's going on, and the belief in the outcome, and the belief in the possibility, even though the factors are not just pure academic. And so all of those are just little factors that when you talk about the strategic vision, the strategic aspect of it, and that can even be more so if you just, brought a couple of other people in to work for your team, kind of thing. That can be even more so with that. So when you talk about the strategic aspect of it, that entails some things that are a little bit more than just the strategic steps and the what we want to achieve, and all of that can be initial, no two ways about it, and that's important also. But how you're going to get there, a lot of that is totally related to your team, how they work together, how you're leading them well in a way where it all comes together in magnificent success factors. And so I just throw that out just as something to think about. When you're talking about true strategic planning, it's not just about the road academic things. It's about when you look at how we're really going to get there, a lot of that has to do with your team and what's the key part of that. So I just throw it out there for the people, that just something to think about, that a lot of people don't realize. It's not just the road academic stuff, but um, are there aspects about your team where they have to have insights? Guess what? If there's one aspect about it they don't understand, just going over and having a chat with them, saying, "Well, I tell you what do you think? What do you think needs to happen?" And they come up with an answer and stuff. So those are just some
Hmm.
things to think about. I leave with the people when you're talking about the strategic vision, the strategic planning going forward. That can be a wider spectrum than just the rote academic. Go here, go there, get there by that time, and get this amount of money kind of thing. It can be uh, a little bit wider and deeper than that. And true leaders need to be thinking about that.
Got it. Wow. Thank you so much. And, in your time doing leading, we always talk about the process of leadership and all this. How do you put it into life form? Give me an example of some of the companies and foundations that you've helped build up, through your leadership programs and by working and coaching with them. Could you share?
Well, I'll tell you this, that I'll just give you just one example because I know we're close on time. Excuse me. I'll um, I'll give this one example. And what this was actually between, it was just a team, but it was a non sort of, um, it was uh, the Civil Air Patrol kind of thing. There are people that, it's not like money kind of thing, but it's people get a chance to fly. And if
Yeah.
there's an aircraft accident out there, the Civil Air Patrol can get out there and go out and fly over and find out what's the issues and all that. Well, it turned out that the squadron commander decided he was leaving because some things were not going as well.
Yeah.
And I was asked to take over. And I said, okay, sure. And one day, instead, most people will just sit there and just point fingers and say, okay, we got to do this, do this, do this, do this. What I did is I had them close the door in the back, and all the squadron members were in there. And I said, okay. And I drew a line on the board up here, and I said, over here, it's going to be all the positives, and over here, it's going to be all the negatives. And I said, you all, and I sent out several little post-it note kind of things. And I said, you all come up with what you want me to post up here for this, for what, for those two things. And there was probably about 10 to 15 on one side and 10 to 15 on the other side. And I said, okay, so here. And I pulled them all off and I read each and every one of them. Pulled them all off, each and every one of them. And then I
Wow.
said, so I'll tell you what, going forward, what do you think we need to do different? Now, I
Yeah.
could have just told them, but because I'm going to keep them engaged, I asked them questions using a coaching facilitative style. And they all had a few questions, and so then I put together a real um, um, a real strategic thing of going forward and how we were going to change, kind of what we were doing and all this. And one of the things that I put in there is I said normally the previous guy being the squadron commander, he would go down and click every single motive, uh, and talk about everything from training to
Yeah.
safety and all this stuff all the way down. Well, what I did is I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let the strategic, now I'll be in the meeting and I will be sitting up here at the front, but I'm going to let each person that's responsible for that particular area, I'm going to let them come up and present it. And they were like, really? I said, yep. Now
Wow.
I can voice something if I need to. And so I sat there, and then when it was all done, I stood up. And
Mm-hmm.
what was amazing is that that the the groups were really, and all the units out there were really amazed at how we were looking differently. And in fact, I had some high-ranking people come up and applaud me and appreciate what I'd been doing and stuff, even though they didn't know exactly what I'd been doing, but they knew the results were different. And that squadron became an amazing squadron within the next couple of months and everything. And I had a lot of comments about it and everything. And we actually had people that had a fair amount of flying experience come and decide they wanted to join the squadron, kind of thing. And so it's just, it's this aspect of, instead of just going through the rote academic sort of stuff, are you really making it so that your team members are really making this work, and they're going to start making that work and keeping it working going forward? And I was applauded because we had a squadron commander meeting one time, and I was in there, and everybody, each person made point comments about their squadron, and each person talked about the number of people they had left and all this sort of stuff. And I said, when it got to me, I pointed out all the people that had come in and the experience each one had, and everybody was looking at me like it was like,
Yeah, right.
what, you know? And that's what can be, if you think about true leadership,
Yeah.
then that's a key aspect of it that a lot of people don't realize. And I think I included this in one of our uh, uh, podcast stuff, but it
Yeah.
was about a year and some ago, kind of thing. But that's just one picture of what you asked about. But it's just, are you truly aware of what you're really bringing, and are you doing it right and well? And if all you're doing is dictating to your people and just saying, go here, go there by this time, you're not really getting the job done. But if you're, coming up with the ideas and the strategic aspects of it, and your people are really building and coming together and just going, oh, yeah, let's
You're
make that
like,
happen. Yeah. And that is their mindset, and that's what they're living. Guess what? Amazing things can happen. And not only that, but true applause can happen when it's done.
beautiful. All right. Thank you
So
so much.
just a thought.
Well, and we appreciate your thoughts and looking forward to next time. Thanks again, Randy. How do we reach out to you? Tell us the website.
Okay, you can go out to coachingforrelevance.com, and it's my website. And if you go to the homepage, in the very bottom of it, um, it has my email, and it also has my cell phone. And you can give me a call if you just want to have a chat. Uh, as I've shared with you before, and everybody else I think probably knows, but I don't do sales pitches. Now, if somebody has a need of something, yeah, we'll come up with something. I will come up with something. But I don't do cold sales pitches over the phone. If you just want to have a chat, we can just have a chat.
Thank
And
you.
so, yeah, the homepage of my website uh, is the place where they'll probably get those. It's down at the bottom of it.
Got it. Thank you so much, Randy. Always a pleasure having you. And we'll be in touch again next week, as always. Congrats again on your success, guys. Look him up. His movie coming out soon. We're going to talk about that more next time, I'm sure. And
We'll
can't
do it.
wait to check that out and see you soon. All right. Have a great day, sweetheart. Thank you.
Okay, you have a good one, my friend. Take care, okay?
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.